It's the end of the activities as we know it. Yes, in some degree, and maybe not fully. In this episode, we're going to talk about sales activity, what's going wrong with sales activities, and why we need to change the way we look at them in order for us to be able to succeed, especially in 2023. You're going to love this one. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we have an amazing guest, Hendrik Isebaert. And you can connect with him. He is a CEO at Showpad. And we have a link down in the show notes so you can connect with the organization and also with Hendrik. I got a chance to do some cool things with them when they were doing their sales kickoff earlier this year. Last year, and to be able to chat with them and some of the cool things that they're doing as an organization. It's just fascinating in the sales enablement world. If you would like to see some of the things that we talk about in this episode, again, click on the link and you can find information in the show notes. But the point we're trying to make in this episode is that right now, the way that we're looking at activities needs to evolve. Your buyers, they've evolved already. The way they're doing their research, the way that they're trying to, the way that they want you to work with them has changed. And if you still do the old tactics, you're going to get the sucky results. I'll just put it like that. As we dive into this episode, you'll get a chance to hear more about this. Now, one of the things I want to make sure you can understand as well is about pipeline. We have a sales program that's designed to help individual sellers, help teams improve their prospecting. We give you the guarantee that you should be booking at least 3 appointments per week through LinkedIn without spamming people. And we break that down for you and help you to be able to become more buyer focused. Now, in this episode today, you'll get a chance to understand a little bit more about the buyer focus mentality. And let's see if you can apply this and help to make a difference in your sales overall. Hendrik, welcome to the show.
Hey, Donald. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. I'm really looking forward to this. This conversation is one that needs to be had. I bragged about you a little bit at the beginning of our episode here and talking about you and the cool things you're doing over at Showpad. Why don't you take a second and introduce yourself and and let us know a little bit more about Showpad and maybe some of the better things that you guys are doing that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, of course. Well, so I'm Hendrik. I'm the CEO at Showpad. I've been with the company for 7 years, but since a little bit under a year, I took the role as CEO. So been very excited in driving and leading the company since a little while. Myself, I started my career in sales, actually selling laundry detergents and diapers for Procter and Gamble. And I now made the switch. Yeah. So I made the switch over to software. And so I always joke to my team that it's actually not that different selling diapers versus selling software. You're helping the customer solve a problem. So that's just a little bit about me. About Showpad. So Showpad's we call ourselves an enablement operating system. We help some of the largest businesses, largest companies in the world, like Dow, General Electric, J&J, to improve the productivity of their sales and marketing organizations by better aligning them to deliver superior buyer experiences in the human-to-human interactions that they have. So that's what we do as a sales enablement platform.
Absolutely love it. We're going to put a link down in the show notes so folks can get access to you guys and to check out Showpad. Highly recommend it, y'all. I think you're gonna find good stuff from them. But you and I had a pretty controversial conversation there. Sorry, guys, I bumped the mic there. But you and I had a pretty controversial conversation, and many sales leaders and sales reps on this call, I encourage you to sit down, buckle up your seatbelts, because what Hendrik told me, it had me floored for a second, and then as I further the discussion, I was like, holy crap, there's something to that. End of activities.
Yeah.
Talk about that. What do you mean end of activities? Like I mean, I know we're dragging a lot of people's attention with that, but what do you mean, and why is that such a problem? End of sales activities.
Yeah, but I think if you look at it a little bit like analytically, and you think about this concept of the sales velocity formula, so like what's the amount of revenue that a seller can generate in a given month, quarter, year. there's four elements that go into that formula. So one's obviously activity. What's the number of deals that you're having, the number of deals that you're driving, the conversion rates. So how successful are you in converting those to revenue, the average selling price of each of those deals, and then obviously the length of the sales cycle then determines like how many you do in a given period of time. Now, if you look at those four metrics, there's one of them which is very focused on activity, which is the number of deals, the activity. But then there's a second, which are the other three actually tie way more into the effectiveness. How effective are you in the interactions and the engagements that you have with your customers, right? And so when I talk about the end of activity, what I mean with that is the end of focusing on activity as a way to make up for bad execution and as a way to make up for poor engagements, poor buyer experiences that you're delivering as a seller. And particularly now and nowadays where there's just like we talked 5 years ago already about like the tsunami of reach out and activity and impulses that our buyers get, like it got exponentially worse over the last couple of years. And so, yeah, you just constantly have to think about how do the activity that I do, how do I make it as effective as possible? And so that's what I mean when I talk about the end of activity.
No, and great point to that too. Like I think for going back to some of the stats that I got from LinkedIn, it was their one of as they're rolling out some of their content and their state of sales. But one of the things I've learned from them that came from Gartner was that email outreach in the pandemic went to an all-time high. It went up by 50%, and the reply rates decreased by 30%. And it was just kind of like, how can we get more? And everybody was just pushing out more email, more activities, and just cause it was just like, yeah, if we do more, we're gonna get something back. But I feel that the numbers game is definitely wrong. If you let's back up. I mean, all things could be a numbers game. However, if you're just focusing on arbitrarily saying let's just do activities, it's gonna suck. And buyers.
And where do you have the biggest gains?
March.
Where do you have the biggest gains? I think is the real question. Where can you have the biggest gains? And that's where I think there's so you talk about like the number of activity that a sales organization is pushing out or organizations in general. But I think the second thing we need to take into consideration is how our buyers have evolved. And so what you see is that over time, obviously with the incredible access to information at the fingertips of buyers, but also the emergence of communities like, for example, G2 or Trustpilot or what have you, like buyers are just able to inform themselves much better. And so not only do they not need all of the content you're sending them, they consider it like table stakes, typically what you're sending them, if it's not tailored to where they are in the buying process, right? So there's two trends that are actually like amplifying each other and that are making it harder and harder for sellers to grab the attention of who they're trying to reach and then actually add value to them in their buying journey.
Holy moly, what do we do to fix this, man? I need help.
Yeah.
I'm a sales rep. What do I do?
so does everyone, I guess, right? I think as a sales rep or as a sales leader thinking about this problem, I really think it starts from understanding the buyer and how the buyer has changed. There's all sorts of data floating around, but one metric that really grabbed my attention recently was that 60% of buyers consider their interactions with sales reps to be useless is maybe a strong word, but they don't see value, right? They don't get value from it. Because think about it, like, if I send you like an overview of what my product does, I probably know that already, because by the time a buyer engages a seller for the first time, they've actually already gone through 60% of their buying journey through research, through educating themselves, particularly in a B2B context. Of course, that's what I'm mainly focused on. So I think where as a seller, you really have to go and focus is how do I deliver value? How do I make myself a trusted advisor in the eyes of the buyer? And so if you think about sales enablement and the angle that sales enablement takes is to offer up a platform to sellers where, one, they can find all of the content that's available to them in a very easy way, but also in a way that recommends content to them based on where their buyer is in the buyer journey. So that I know, okay, these are pieces of content that I can actually go and send and share with my customer. Second, obviously, is continuously being educated. A great example I saw at one of our customers is that let's say one of their reps goes and sell into a chemicals company. Well, they'll get pushed to them a training specifically on objection handling in the chemicals vertical. So this is now super tailored and relevant to the conversation I am about to have. Thirdly, it's then about what are different formats for me to engage with the buyer rather than talk at the buyer, turn your presentation into a conversation. And I think there's ways to do that through technology today by rather than just a stale PowerPoint using interactive HTML5, for example, or other formats that make it interactive. But second, you also see the emergence of what it's called like digital sales rooms or digital deal rooms, where
love those.
you can collaborate with the buyer, right? It becomes a two-way street rather than a one-way presentation. So I think those are some of the really exciting ways in which you can do that. And obviously, a lot of that now happens digitally, which then gives you insight. If I engage with my buyer in a digital sales room, I actually see what content they're looking at. Is it page 2 or page 10 of the deck I sent them? If page 2 is what are the advantages of a platform like mine, and page 10 is what is the pricing for this platform, I can already like assume that they're in a very different state of mind if whether they looked at page 2 or page 10. And so I can tailor my next steps, I can tailor my follow-up in a completely different way than I was able to do in the past. In the past, I would just follow the sales process very generically, and then you miss an opportunity to position yourself as a trusted advisor to the buyer.
So there's a whole bunch in that we can unpack. And go back to the stat just to kind of unpack some of it. 60% of the buyers feel that they don't necessarily need the sales rep, which again, really startling. And I think sometimes sellers will say, no, I know so much. Well, yeah, people are just, it's easier to get information now. Very easy to get info. The other side to that too is like, I think one of the stats that I saw was about 50% of the buyers are millennials. If that's the case with stakeholders, we understand the game and we've grown up utilizing from, high schools, the middle school to doing research to the point where we are right now. So I can research information on a company, on an industry. So those are some interesting facts. And then the other side to that too is come back to what you just shared, around this notion of being arming the sales rep with the tools, like say for the digital sales room. If you don't know what a digital sales room is, you got to make sure you check it out. You guys offer that with Showpad?
Yep, that's part of the platform.
Yeah, definitely check it out. You guys will love it and see what some of the things that Hendrix and the team has with it. But it gives me the power rather than as a buyer to feel that I'm empowered to be able to make it, to be a part of it. And I think this goes back to the point that you and I talked about before, was this concept of relevance, right? If you can tailor something towards me, it feels relevant. And also the sales process is relevant because it's the way that I am engaging. The platinum rule that I live by is treat others the way that they would like to be treated. And this concept, I feel the way that we're evolving with the way that selling is leading towards that. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's I agree with that 100%. And if you think about it as well, another evolution that you continuously see is the solutions we sell are obviously more and more complex, right? Because also the problems we solve are more complex. And if you're not in a position where you can give your buyer the reassurance that your organization is going to be a good partner to them in solving that problem through that solution, you're gonna lose out. Many buyers actually choose the buying experience and the expectation of the quality of the partnership over price, product capabilities, brand, anything. Like that is the number one buying criteria.
Can you repeat that one more time? We're going to make that our click to tweet, but I want to make sure people in the back or people who are running at the gym that missed that point can hear
Yeah.
that again. Repeat that one more time. That was super powerful.
So the buying experience that a buyer has gives them confidence in how good of a partner you're going to be, right? And so that actually trumps price, product features, brand in the purchase decision that's made. That is typically the highest weighted variable in a purchase decision in a complex B2B environment. And it's not like that makes a ton of sense, right? Because you're typically B2B, these are hundred thousands, millions of dollars investments that are not just like a one shot. Typically they're repeat engagements. And so yeah, if in these complex buying cycles, like you want to have a partner that gives you the confidence this solution is going to fit your unique situation. And so for that, you want to make sure you're working with the right partner.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So good. Then let's go back. Let's continue. What else? What else that I didn't ask that we need to discuss about this topic? I mean, I think there's so much that you know about this. End of activity. We're being more relevant. I know one of the points that we had was around conversion, and you
Yeah.
kind of hit on this a little bit with digital sales room. But you might go in a little bit deeper on conversion side, and maybe if there's any other points that I'm
Yeah.
haven't, what I don't know that I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think one especially for like all the sellers and the sales leaders on the call, I think one interesting thing to reflect on is in the last 15, 20 years, we've seen all professions, not just the sales profession, but all professions increasingly benefit from the digitization of our economy and our workflows. But what actually has happened in the sales profession in terms of digitizing? We've implemented CRM. Our forecasting is much more is much tighter, etc. Through all of the tools that we offer. But all of these platforms help the sales leaders, help the executives to exert more control over whether the seller is doing the activities they should be doing. None of those tools actually help the seller have a better conversation with the buyer.
Wow.
So billions of dollars have been invested. And why? By who invests, right? Management typically makes these purchase decisions. And so they're very focused on how do I get a better visibility on my pipeline? How do I get better visibility into what my people are doing? What people should be asking themselves is, how do I make sure that every single touch point my team has with their buyer is more effective, is more engaging, delivers a better experience, right? And that's why I'm so excited, like being a seller myself and having started in sales, like on the field as a sales rep. I'm very excited working for a sales enablement company because that is ultimately what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a platform that puts the seller and the customer facing team at the core, and make sure that they have all the tools that they need to provide an engaging experience to the buyer. And obviously, then align the entire go to market team and strategy around that singular motion. And so, yeah, that's I think something that definitely the leaders on the call need to reflect on is how much money have we spent recently in truly helping our sellers have better conversations versus measuring what they're doing. Of course, so you can coach them. That's the thinking behind it. But I like to think that, yeah, if you have 1,000 sales reps and they have 5 activities a week or 5 like customer conversations a week, it's 5,000 a week, 250,000 a year. If I can make each of those interactions a bit better through a platform that actually enables that, then I think you're gonna see some impact, right?
Yeah.
So
Much
that's
better.
just what I invite everyone to think about.
Your deals are going to go down are going to move through the pipeline a lot smoother,
Yeah,
and you're going to have a higher
yeah,
conversion rate as a natural byproduct from some of the stuff that you're sharing there. And
yeah.
I think it's and let's go a little bit deeper into that part. The customer experience, because you guys work with a lot of clients. You gave me one example already where you talked about your client and going to the chemical industry and how they can get some of those objections. But let's talk about what else can I do? What are some of the leading companies doing right now to ensure that their sales reps are being relevant, and then also that they're helping them to have better buyer experiences? Like, what are some of
Yeah.
those things that's happening?
Yeah, yeah, we're seeing some really exciting innovation, not just technology innovation, but also process innovation in the market. And so, one of the things that I've really seen come up is companies are building these incredible data lakes, and in these data lakes, they have all information you would ever want to know about your customer. And so, what they're starting to think through is how do we now activate that data to actually have more meaningful and tailored conversations with our buyers. So one of the companies we serve, what they do, for example, is they'll take the data from their data lake and visualize it to the customer, so that the customer can compare themselves to competitors in the neighborhood. And then,
Mm,
based on the conclusions that you make from looking at that data together, you can actually tailor your conversation. And think about the difference with a rep that just walks in and talks about like what he was ordered to talk about, i.e., the priorities of the month,
yeah.
versus talking about like what's actually on the mind of the buyer at that point in time and what might help them be more successful. So that's like those are ways in which different pieces of technology are starting to come together to empower sellers to just have more tailored conversations.
So if I can go deeper with that, let's give an example. Let's say that I sell a CRM. You're telling me, you can help me and guide me with this, but if I understand this correctly, instead of you, if instead of me coming to you and say, "Hey, our CRM is a promotion. You buy 5 licenses this month, you get one free." It's more like your competitor. Here's what your competitor has done interacting with our content or in our stuff. Here's how they're engaging. Here's what they're looking at. Here's some of the impacts that they're seeing based on their activities that we've collected. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, yeah. For
And
example,
that's
if you
to better
could,
get.
yeah, you can show, hey, your challenge here. If I'm selling a CRM, like I'll probably wanna hone in on like what's the conversion rates that you see in your business today, and how much could we increase those? If you could tie it back to that type of conversation, then you can dig in on it's discovery one-on-one, right? It's figuring out
Sure.
like what is the actual problems that your buyer has, but now supporting that conversation with data or visualizing the different scenarios that are causing you having lower conversion rates. That's another way of doing it. Versus me coming in and either having an assumption on what it is or just interrogating the customer with a standard discovery question list that I walk through. Turn the table. Like what we like to say is, rather than me like us sitting aside each other at the table, sit next to each other at the table, and virtually you can do that by creating a visual environment, a virtual environment in which you trigger the conversation. A great example we have there is we have customers that sell into lab environments. They sell software to laboratories, medical laboratories.
Hmm.
And so these medical laboratories, like they have all types of workflows that need to be optimized or automated. But it's very different from the front office to the back office to the laboratory, which processes those are. If you visualize that entire environment and you invite the customer, hey, tell me like what processes today aren't working well for you, that's very different than me coming in with an assumption already of what that is.
Oh man, love it. Holy moly. You got some good stuff, man, Hendrik. I
Yeah,
think
well, it's it's
this is
it's a fun space. It's a fun space. There's a lot happening, and the way I look at it is finally the focus is coming on how do we make the seller like actually have better conversations with their
yeah,
buyers versus just tracking the activity that they've been doing.
yeah, and it's more. I really feel this era is just more. The way I bottle it down is quality, 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 quality. And the way that you give me quality is give me something that something that I don't know that obviously could help me, and that's obviously
Yep.
get enhanced help. If a sales rep try to do this on their own, it's darn near nearly impossible. But
Yeah.
with enablement tools, it makes it easier. And obviously with AI, it's even, it
Yeah.
goes even one step further.
When I started my career fresh out of school,
Mhm.
I was put up against a buyer that had 25 years of experience. Like
Come on, man.
no matter how much data the company gives me, you can't make up for those 25 years of experience just
Yeah,
through studying yourself, right? Whereas if you capture your best practices in ways that you can then leverage to go and engage a buyer like that, it helps.
yeah.
It's not going to close the gap completely, but it helps.
I'm a sales leader listening to this podcast. I'm fascinated in what I hear. How can Showpad help me? I'm a SMB company.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Showpad ultimately we do four things. So
Mhm.
it all starts from content. So we help you manage and streamline sales content, content for the field, so that sellers find the relevant content they need, always up to date. But then within that platform, they can also find all of the training materials that they might need in order to then talk to that content in the most effective way and engage with customers in the most effective way. So that's all about training and coaching sellers. And then finally, it's about giving them digital tools to go and engage buyers in a much more exciting way. For example, through the digital sales rooms that we mentioned, we call them
Mhm.
shared spaces, or through more interactive templates through which I can like have presentations with customers either virtually or face to face. Because all of these activities happen online, I now get a ton of data that helps me, one, better understand how my buyer is engaging with whatever I'm sharing, but then also at the more macro level, looking at what different audiences, for example, what content resonates with these different audiences more than with other audiences. And then I can adapt my content strategy to that as well.
Fascinating stuff, man. Absolutely love it. If folks are listening to this want to get in touch with you to learn about Showpad or the team, or just to connect with you because they feel you're a brilliant mind, they feel you're a brilliant mind from the conversation, what's the best way for them to go about doing so?
Well, I'm afraid if they contact me that might burst the bubble of the nice compliments that you just gave me. But I think, look, if you want to get in touch with Showpad, like go to our website and all the traditional ways there, you can get in touch. If you want to get in touch with me personally, like feel free to add me on LinkedIn and maybe refer that you heard me on the podcast and have some questions about what I've been professing here.
Well, you profess great, and I'm absolutely grateful to have you on the show. Awesome stuff. Thank you for taking the time to be here, and thank you for sharing the good stuff. And keep doing amazing things over at Showpad.
Thanks for having me, Donald. Bye bye.
Hey, that was Hendrik. If you haven't connected with him as of yet, find his information down in the show notes. Check out Showpad and some of the cool things they're doing. Tell them that you heard about him here on the Sales Evangelist. You can also connect with our sponsors because, listen, they're giving you some amazing offers that can help you out and your team. And I highly recommend it as well. I am dedicated to helping you as a sales professional to build a stronger pipeline and to maneuver the deals in that pipeline to a close. If I can do that, I feel like I'm in a good spot, and I would love to help you. You can check out some of our programs and how those can help. Specifically, our LinkedIn program, our business development program is for BDRs, and our sales foundation, as well as our sales mastermind. But our LinkedIn one, I know a lot of people are checking out right now because it's helping you to be able to help you to get at least 3 appointments per week without spamming. Check it out. Let me know if you have any questions on that. As always, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. I want you to raise your level of thinking. I want you to go out. I want you to do big things.